as you're planning your trip to Belize, I'm going to give you 5 places that you should visit. And I'm going to do this by giving you the visual of picture a family with 5 sisters. And I'm going to give you the personality of each place because Belize has sort of a strange dynamic going on in that tiny country about the size of New Jersey, but the characteristics, the topography in every area attracts completely different people. And there's almost something for everybody in Belize. So let me start with the places I'm going to cover are AMBERGRIS Caye, PLACENCIA, CAYO, CORIZAL, and CAULKER. AMBERGRIS Caye, 100% would be, of the 5 sisters, she's the fun one. She is the extrovert, she is the one that wants to sing karaoke, find the games, be active, meet everybody, has the largest group of friends, and that kind of is the personality on this island. You might say it's a bit of a Jimmy Buffett island, and there actually is, depending on what things can change right now because of this crisis, but Margaritaville is actually being built about 10 miles north of San Pedro town. Pretty far from town, so it'll be a bit of an isolated thing, but that is not surprising given the personality of this place. This is a place that is full of live music, full of energy. You can find games and socializing every night. One of the reasons AMBERGRIS Caye has become so popular and remain popular is the ease of access to the reef. You can see the reef right off the shore. Absolutely beautiful aqua water. It was rated the #1 island in the world by TripAdvisor in 2013 and 2014. You can easily get here by a water taxi or a puddle jumper from the Belize City Airport. And while you may read that it's touristy, take that into context because it is not touristy like a sanitized corporate look of a lot of places in the US. It still is gritty. There is local, authentic culture here that is very, very unique. It's mixed with this kind of tropical, rustic, natural look that is really, really, it sets it apart from a lot of other Caribbean islands or beaches in the US. And let me move on then to Placencia, which is, people often ask, should I choose AMBERGRIS Caye or Placencia to visit? So Placencia would be characterized as a sister who is a bit of an introverted bohemian. She's artsy, there's a little bit funky, somewhat independent, she's a quieter person. And that is the personality in Placencia. You are going to see miles of uncrowded beaches. You often will be the only one on that beach, even in the middle of high season. And the whole place has a charm that is like an old-fashioned Caribbean postcard. Wood, like little wood cabanas line the sidewalks. Nothing is fancy. There's no big buildings. There's no all-inclusives. It's very, very peaceful. It's a place that you will walk around. You will know everybody in the town, the village by the end of your trip. Dogs will follow you around. It is not a nightlife place. Big happy hour. You see the live music. You'll see lots of games and socializing for happy hour. But after about 9, 10 o'clock, people go to bed. So this is also a place very big for boaters. A lot of places you can overnight your boat. There are some marinas there. And there's a mountain of really wonderful islands that you can visit by boat for a day trip from the village. It's a 16-mile peninsula. It is not an island like AMBERGRIS Caye. And that moves me on to CAYO. CAYO is the area farther west on the border of Guatemala, and it is where the Mayan mountains are, a lot of the rainforest, a lot of the super crazy world-class adventures that people come to Belize for. The cave tubing, you can do just about everything. You can zip line through the rainforest. You can visit Mayan villages that look like they haven't been touched in hundreds of years. It is a very, very special, gorgeous place. And this sister would be the person that is a bit of that Wild West mentality, maybe a bit of libertarian tendencies. This person is someone that maybe is a little bit against the grain. They like to be a trailblazer. And you can do anything in CAYO, from live in the middle of a rainforest. You can have a self-sustaining farm. People that live out there, you'll hear them describe the adventures that they have with their friends. they have to go down these very, very bumpy dirt roads. They'll go visit their friends, and then they'll tend to do these kind of wild adventures like rappel a waterfall, and that's the kind of activities that attracts the people out there. The fun they have is usually nature-based. A lot of people will buy a plot of land. You can get a Mennonite cabin here for under $20,000. You can purchase solar panels. You can have your own farm there and have a self-sustainable way of life, which is kind of a unique experience that draws a lot of people out there. But you don't necessarily see all of them because they tend to live in the rural areas. So the next area I will talk about is CORIZAL, and CORIZAL, excuse me, is up north by the Mexico border. And CORIZAL would be characterized as kind of a low-maintenance sister who says, I'm not fancy, but she maybe finds her own quiet way to do things just the way she wants them. And I say that because CORIZAL is a bit of a secret. When you go to CORIZAL downtown, you're probably going to say, it's a little gritty. It's certainly not set up for tourism. It is set up for people to work. It looks very utilitarian. But on the outskirts of CORIZAL, on the water, which is a bay, it's not necessarily the Caribbean, but it looks like the Caribbean. You certainly have that Caribbean feel. There are a mountain of expat communities built up in so many areas that are not, you're not going to find them online very easily. It's almost like a secretive word of mouth thing. You only know how great these communities are when you meet somebody that's living there. You have to work to find it. So kind of an interesting thing about CORIZAL, most people do not, expats do not live in the town of CORIZAL. They live in these communities that start about 7 miles right outside of town. One thing that's great about CORIZAL is that if you are looking to live in a tropical atmosphere and you want to do so inexpensively, that is the place to look. You can go right over the border of Mexico into Chetumal, and there's a free zone area. There is a Walmart and a Sam's Club, and if you know anything about Belize, it's mostly all mom and pop stores here, and that kind of shopping just doesn't exist here. So it is one of those places, if you're, it's for people that maybe are a little bit more seasoned. They understand Belize, they know what they want, and they then find those connections to find their perfect spot. Last place I'm going to talk about is CAYE. CAYE is the sister, I would say, who maybe doesn't get all the attention all the time of the other places, but when people focus on that sister, they find out she's kind of perfect. She's kind of that Goldilocks for a lot of people. The reason I say that is if you ever daydreamed about living on a Caribbean island, CAYE is probably somewhat close to what you were picturing. Very small island, 5 miles. If I had one negative to say, it is that living there full time, you would have to be comfortable with being on an island that you can walk the whole thing in an afternoon and not get island fever. CAYE sort of is the best charm about Placencia and AMBERGRIS Key put together in a very, very small, old-fashioned town. No paved roads, very few cars. There's not even that many golf carts. You walk everywhere. You would not need a car to live there. All the streets are still sand. It is unbelievably charming. Most people fall in love with CAYE. And another nice thing about CAYE is if you're looking for a place that's held on to a lot of an authentic feel, it is still mostly Belizean-owned businesses, certainly some expats as well, but it kind of has hung on to this very fun, laid-back place. The minute you enter the island, it says go slow, and they really mean it. They just want you to relax, enjoy, take in the streets. There's people barbecuing, there's dogs running around, there's hammock parks, there's people swimming and kayaking everywhere you look. You can get everywhere so easily. You can get the feel of the island in about an hour. One last thing to note about CAYE is that it has 2 interesting things going on. Number one is a hurricane back in the 60s split the island in 2. And that's called the split, when people swim and boat in there all the time. And north of there is called North Key. And North Key in the last couple years got water and power. And it is this really charming, untouched island that has just now started to get some development. You could look up a place called Blue Zen, is a brand new, very successful development that was just started there. It sold out their phase 1. They're working on phase 2. Like everything right now, we don't know the future of real estate, but this is, pre-crisis. And the island right now is one of those, if you ever dreamed of living in an island with almost no one around you, being one of the very first ones, and all you're going to hear is birds. There's no traffic. There's nobody around. It is like a island that you would picture if you were shipwrecked. You'd find this island. So really unique opportunity that has recently come up. And south of CAULKER is an island called Key Chapel, which the Four Seasons is currently building luxury homes, a luxury golf course. And what's so interesting is that there's not a lot of luxury in Belize. That's not what draws people here. And it'll be really interesting to watch the impact that a super high-end development is going to have on a place like CAULKER, because CAULKER is so, it's like a backpacker. Come as you are, bare feet are fine. And as some of the people from Key Chapel come over to CAULKER, we kind of wonder, is there going to maybe be some boutiques or high-end restaurants to cater to these many people that will now be coming to the island? We'll see, but it's also interesting opportunity possibly for future businesses. So CAULKER, I want to mention one more thing, is a really popular day trip from AMBERGRIS Key. There's a ferry in about 20 minutes. You can go back and forth between those two islands, and that's a really common thing for expats to do on the weekends. So I hope that gives you a better understanding of the differences between those top 5 places, and maybe you will want to take one on your list or add one. But for those of us that live here, we're very grateful that we have all of these opportunities when we do want to travel around. It's almost like it's 5 different countries that we can experience. So hope everybody is staying safe. Again, feel free to reach out to me with any questions at belize@internationalliving.com. And thank you so much for joining us.